Alright, good afternoon ladies and gentlemen again. So now we're going to be talking about a carbureted engine versus a fuel injected engine. Now, back in the day, and still today, they still have them today, carbureted engines are what got the market going, got the economy going. But the only problem is in our industry, in airplanes, is that these guys right here, these systems, are highly prone to icing in this section, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, I'm going to tell you why fuel injected engines are so much better than the carbureted. So, for example, one of my buddies I met about 2 months ago, we were talking and he was telling a story about how he had an emergency landing, he had an engine failure. And come to find out, the NTSB, the people who investigate these crashes, they noticed that his carburetor was iced over. The venturi tube, which is this piece right here, and where it's going to happen, the icing will occur, is right here. This was completely iced over, so he had no fuel going to any of his cylinders. Which, you know, obviously no fuel going to the cylinders, that's going to be for your engine. You're not going to have any flow, your engine's going to quit, there's no chance you restart. Especially because he was at 1,000 feet AGL, so he had no time whatsoever to react. So he just put it down on the ground, he made it out okay. So, the carbureted engine is used in a lot of gravity-fed systems, even sometimes they have a pump if we have a piper because it's a low wing. So what happens is the fuel-air mixture goes into the carburetor. So you have fuel and air coming in to the carburetor right here. So it's coming, so the air is flowing out through right here, and you have the fuel coming in through here. So what happens is, and then this right here is your throttle plate. It's literally just like a little butterfly plate. It goes back and forth just like that. So you control, so if you want to go full throttle, blower open, so when you go full power, this thing's going to go straight out and you're going to have max air, max fuel going through the system. So you get the maximum amount of power that the aircraft can provide. Now when you're at idle, it's going to look more like this, just a little bit of air and fuel is going around the sides. Now where this becomes a problem in freezing conditions, when we fly through freezing conditions with known icing areas, the fuel and mixture, because we have liquid, there's always some kind of liquid in the air. So when the liquid comes in through the induct valve, it comes into the carburetor venturi, and it will slowly start to freeze up on each side of the system. And eventually it will block all airflow and will block the fuel coming out if we don't do something. They have countered this with carb heat, but still sometimes it doesn't work out. So that is like my biggest concern with the carbureted. That's why I much prefer fuel injected engines, because fuel injected engines is what they're starting to go to now because they're more economically friendly. They deliver fuel more efficiently to the engine. We have better fuel burn, and it's most of the time controlled by what we call a FADEC, Full Authority Digital Engine Control, which automatically disperses the fuel to the cylinders or to the engine by itself. Now, so the fuel injected, it's a little bit smaller image. So literally it's fairly simple. So all it does, it has two pumps, has an auxiliary fuel pump, which is electric, and then an engine-driven fuel pump. Once the engine starts, the engine-driven fuel pump kicks on, and then it's sent into this system right here, and we'll get into that. So, and then it goes into here, and then it goes straight directly into the cylinders. That's what the difference is. So the carbureted air mix, the air and fuel mixture are mixed before it goes into the cylinders. Fuel injected is mixed, air and fuel mixture is mixed inside the cylinder. So, so the great thing about these, there is like a 0.01% chance that these things could have an icing issue. It's like, I say that because there's always a chance of something happening. So the great thing about these guys is, like I said, I gave you all those facts a second ago. But the only issue with them that they've been able to really find out is that the fuel injection system has a vapor lock problem. And what vapor lock is when these tubes right here going straight into the cylinders, they get too hot and they evaporate the fuel in the fuel line, which creates little bubbles of air in the fuel line. And when those bubbles of air go into the cylinder, that gives a bad fuel to air ratio, a bad mixture. So, and that can cause, it's decombustion. No, it's pre-ignition. It can cause pre-ignition. So, and that's really the only problem, but it really doesn't happen that often. It only happens in like really, really hot Texas day or Texas heat. So we just have to be cautious of that, watch our CHT levels and all that kind of stuff. So that's why I feel that the fuel injection system is way better than the carbureted system. It's much more reliable. The only thing is, it is more expensive to get installed, but it's cheaper to get maintained than the carbureted. So yeah, that's why I think that the fuel injection system is better than carbureted. And that's about it.